I have an original model MakerBot at home called the Cupcake, and it was originally about $1,200, and it was just a box of parts that they shipped you, and you kind of puzzled over their wiki and kind of, looked at these photographs that weren't quite right, and you muddle through it a bit, and then eventually you have something that can print a blob of plastic. And they were a little bit iffy at first, but people started making aftermarket parts and upgrades and all sorts of neat stuff. So when I found out later on that 3D printing has been around for decades, it just seemed crazy that we didn't all know about this. And now, even now, it's only just kind of filtering out to the mainstream for everybody to even know that this stuff is possible. It's not. I don't know that it's really going to replace traditional manufacturing, because if you need to make 30,000 of something, 3D printing is not the way to go. It's too expensive for that. But it opens up more possibilities for manufacturing. Because there's no extra cost for customization, basically. Like if you design and 3D print an object that has your name on it or your friend's name on it, you don't have to make a new mold to have it injection molded to be manufactured. It's just 3D printed directly, so there's no extra cost for customization. Every single product can be a unique object. Because 3D printing, at least with this sort of technology where you're laying down layers of plastic, it's actually kind of simple in a way. It's really just, 3 axes driven by some motors and, a nozzle that can extrude plastic or whatever material. So mechanically, it's kind of simple. So
scale up or down.
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy. And for my own printer at home, it has a very small build platform on it, but I was able to download an upgrade for it where it kind of pops the top and extends the range of the threaded rods that the extruder travels up and down on. So now I can print stuff that's 20 centimeters tall. And it's just sort of my unique upgrade on my printer there. And that helps quite a bit when I'm doing life-size stuff, because even though I still have to split the models into a lot of different pieces, you can see kind of this, this is one piece there. Oh, the astronaut, that's sort of the tallest single piece I can do, and that's actually taller than like the MakerBot Replicator 2 can do in a single print. Oh, even though that one's overall build volume is larger, but. So the modern ones can actually do about 100 microns is sort of the standard base quality for a 3D printer you'd buy for home today. I'm not positive that the $500 ones can handle that, but like 0.27 millimeters or 0.2 millimeters would probably be just fine. The finer the resolution that you do, the longer it takes to print anything. So if it doesn't have to be like super smooth, you might not bother with doing it that resolution. But yeah, the stuff that I'm printing out now is just it's 3.5 years old, but it's just ancient in terms of where the technology is right now. And we've got stuff like, people are working on filament recyclers, so you can grind down the plastic and extrude a new spool of filament. Oh. So, because the thing is, like, even though we all want like everybody to have 3D printers, we don't suddenly want landfills full of plastic doodads and stuff. Like, that's people are concerned about that and working to make it a little more green. And people are using a lot of PLA as well, and that one's biodegradable. So I think we'll have them in a lot of homes, but before that, it's more likely that we'll have access to them in different spaces. So some libraries have 3D printers now, and I mean, as part of trying to keep libraries relevant, some are trying to transform into like community maker spaces, because already a library is a place where people who don't have the money for computers or internet access can go and use modern technology. So the transition to being kind of a makerspace it's not too far of a leap. if people can go to a library to get access to stuff. But if you have like an apartment complex, maybe you could have a community 3D printer downstairs or something without having everyone to have one. We'll also, actually Staples is, you might have seen in the news, they're exploring putting 3D printers into their shops. So they're going to start in a couple of Eastern European countries this year using it's called the M-Core Iris printer, I believe. It's a really interesting paper-based one. You just feed it like reams of printer paper, and it uses those to build up the layers of the object with some kind of adhesive to stiffen it, and it can actually print full-color objects too, so it's really neat. And if the trial is successful, then you'll walk into a Staples anywhere in the world and just plug in your USB key or download something at the terminal there and print it out. So we may not have to have everyone having a printer at home. The thing with the MakerBot is that its big advantage is if you own one or if you have access to one, printing is virtually free. It's just using up your personal time. Like a 1 kilogram spool of material, $40. And you could print out, somebody did a test where they printed like 300 chess pieces with one roll. Kind of, they just had this giant bag of chess pieces at the end. The Form 1 printer uses a technology where it's kind of it's kind of a vat of this resin, just a little square of it there. It has kind of this arm that reaches into the bottom, and then underneath, that one I believe uses a laser to cure each layer. So in the slicing software, it breaks down an object into slices, like one layer at a time. So the laser will cure the bottom layer of resin, and then the arm will move up one layer, and it'll cure the next layer. And what happens is it kind of looks like a 3D object just emerging from a flat plane of liquid. It looks really cool, but it's very smooth, very high resolution. Probably really suitable for jewelry casting if you want to design any of that stuff. It is with the MakerBot, it just in my living room. It just sits and runs and prints stuff out. But yeah.
Something during the day.
With the ones you'd buy now, you don't really have to worry about it. I kind of keep an eye on mine just because it's kind of old, but.
This guy right here, it seems quite intricate.
Yeah, because the details in that one, that was probably 4 or 5 hours, I think. It really goes up with the volume. Like the Lego guy there, to do all of his pieces takes me about 11 hours per figure. Utterly the same. Really? If you pick him up there and look at his torso, you can see some marks on the front and back there. Those marks are identical on every single one that I print. Yeah.
I know the XF used to be.
Oh, right. So
popular.
You can use whatever you're comfortable with. Any 3D software can basically export to STL files. Mm-hmm. That's sort of the common format for downloading for 3D printers. But but whatever you're working in, it can be exported as STL, so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And when you can do 3D scanning stuff too. This sculpture here, Birth of Pegasus, it's called, was created using a laser scanner by Artec, and the company just uploaded the files online for people to download and print out. You can see that there. So that was made with a laser scan, but at home. Using either photographic scans or something like the Microsoft Kinect are kind of the cheap options right now. So this orange head here, this was done with a photographic scan. And how that works, this was in a museum in Russia. It's of a poet named Mayakovsky. And the person who created the model, all they had to do was, just with their phone camera, take a photograph from 40, 50 angles around the object in good lighting. And this just is free software, 123D Catch, can calculate a 3D model from those photographs. And that's how this one was made. Yeah. There's actually a few different tools on your phone, or just if you have your DSLR, you can just use your Windows or PC software to upload it to the server and have it do it. It's a little tricky in terms of if there's shadowed areas, they kind of show up as just a hole in the model, and you kind of have to do a bit of post-processing, but it's...
So that was from a picture?
From several pictures,
From
not...
several pictures.
Yeah. This one here is a Connect scan I did of myself. I can pass that around. And I actually just... I chopped my beard down a little bit since then, but for that one, it was the first time I'd used the software. It was like 3 in the morning, so I just sat in my office chair and just slowly turned around on it. And so people are doing stuff, turn their friends into chess pieces, into Pez heads, and all sorts of stuff like that. And it's just a very, it's a $90 3D scanner. Like, that's awesome.
$90 for
Yeah.
the scanner.
Yeah, for the Connect.
Oh, for the Connect.
Yeah, because you just plug it into your computer, run the software, and there you go. The work that you have, or the files that are online, many of them are licensed for just remixing and stuff. So this one came from a photographic scan. This is sort of an unknown deity figure from 8th century India. The Met hosted a MakerBot hackathon where they invited people to come out with their cameras and do photo 3D scans of some sculptures. So someone uploaded this one to the internet. I noticed that no one had printed it yet, so I scaled it up to roughly life size, and then I chopped it into the model into pieces to print out. And what I'm going to do is I've got some textured spray paint to kind of make it look like white onyx. Just need a good day without any rain and snow to do that outside. So I'll finish this one with that. This one was my first sort of life-scale piece. An artist named Cosmo Wenman did this scan of an Alexander the Great bust, and he was printing it on a MakerBot replicator too, where he's got a much larger build platform to work with, and but he still had to print it in pieces. So I kind of thought, well, maybe I can chop it up into a few more pieces to fit on my 3D printer, and kind of this life scale stuff like this. These two are about 40 hours of printing each before any of the finishing work. So it's not a small project, but it is actually practical to do it, is kind of the thing. And so this one I just assembled with some super glue. Sometimes I use solvent on the smaller objects. And I used a modeling compound called epoxy on the outside, and just threw some acrylic paint on there, and just about instantly, yeah. So the plastic melts at, the ABS plastic melts at 220 Celsius. And like if you're printing a very narrow thing, you might tell the printer to work more slowly, but in general it sets very, very quickly. Yeah, day one we were already using 3D printers that were 3D printed by 3D printers. Yeah. It's more of the, there's an open source project called the RepRap. That one is a little more focused on making 3D printers out of as few parts as possible, including some 3D printed ones. That's the most common one that you make with your existing 3D printer. You can order just a kit with the electronics and some threaded rods, and have a friend who has one already print out the 3D printed parts. And
I don't know.
yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, because if for this sort of technology, as long as you can extrude it through a nozzle or a syringe, like today you can do chocolate and peanut butter and potato paste and all of that stuff. There was a neat, actually for like MakerBots and RepRaps, you can buy kits to convert them into chocolate printers. It sort of replaces the plastic extruder with a syringe powered by an air compressor, or one that uses a peristaltic pump design, I think. And basically it just spits out chocolate the same way that it would spit out the plastic. So just layer by layer builds it up. And I wrote about this advertising agency last year that they bought a RepRap with the chocolate thing, and they had their employees 3D model something that was meaningful to them, and then they 3D printed it in chocolate and made a company advent calendar out of it. Yeah. Not that I'm aware of in Canada. I think there might be some in the US coming up as part of, if you saw Obama mention 3D printing in the State of the Union address.
Last year, we created our first Manufacturing Innovation Institute in Youngstown, Ohio. A once shuttered warehouse is now a state-of-the-art lab where new workers are mastering the 3D printing that has the potential to revolutionize the way we make almost everything.
I do a lot of events around the city just showing 3D printing, have a 3D printer set up, and the kids take to it like it's nothing. 3D printing and some 3D modeling stuff is going to be just part of the standard digital native skill. Like, this stuff is cool, is very cool right now, but is just going to be so utterly normal in 10, 15 years. So it's important to get this into as many kids' hands as possible right now because they're going to be driving that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's sort of one of the traditional uses in the past where, you know, people with huge budgets could afford to do it back then. Those would be done with professional 3D printers rather than like a MakerBot kind of thing. But actually, well, MakerBots can, the MakerBot Replicator 2 is one of the ones that can do your 100 micron resolution. So
How much is that?
That one I think is about $2,200. They've kind of gone up in price because they've started offering, you know, it's a nice solid metal frame. It's got phone support. They're trying to, you know, build all of that into there. But you can still, so about $500 to $2,500 is kind of the home 3D printer range right now.
Accessories and whatnot.
Yeah, that's already being done with in aviation and auto stuff because, you know, if you need a part for a classic car, there's just no factories set up to make stuff anymore. So already you can get 3D printed parts for classic cars and stuff. I don't know how big of a market it is. It's pretty specialty, and 3D printing in metal is still quite expensive. But, you know, if you need it, if you have a classic car collection, you probably have access to the cash for that. But it's hard to say. I've personally seen maybe 50, 60 of them between Mini Maker Fair last year, and I actually run these monthly 3D printing meetups at Site 3 on the last Monday of every month if you guys want to come out. Toronto3dprinters.com if you want to look at that. We usually get people just bring out all these different printers and set them up, and just so people can see the different technologies in action. But I imagine there's quite a few that are owned by companies and that aren't really, they're not really part of the community so much. I'm pretty sure there's about, let's see, there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 MakerBots in total in the world. And then you've got all of the other projects going on. But there's a pretty sizable community in Toronto of 3D printing so far. So if you get a chance, we have an open house every Thursday at Site 3. You should come by and check it out if you've got physical projects in mind. And we've got lots of good people to work with. Yeah. Like, you guys can come up and take a look at, you know, pick up some of these models and stuff.
So
If you have some...
for Site 3?
Yeah, site3.ca. I've got a stack of stickers here with the address if you want that. I'd like to do some more life-scale sculptures from some more original designs. So I've been playing with 3D scanning stuff, and I'd like to do sort of computational design where you algorithmically influence the structure of a 3D model.
Like a Julia set or something.
Like a
Julia set?
Oh, like a fractal pattern? Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's my current plan. And just, you know, going out to more events and just spreading the word about 3D printing because it's really awesome.
Gonna watch this episode of Star Trek with us?
Sure. What time is it now?
It's only 4:30.
Oh, hell yeah.
What about the Pegasus? I haven't seen that in a while on TNG.
On TNG, you want to see the Pegasus? The
Yeah.
one with Riker?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can watch that again.
Is that, yeah. And that's just printed as a single
Do you
object.
want to ride it?
There. Thanks so much for coming, man.
No problem.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's rubbery.
Yeah.
Okay, turning off the lights.
It gets really good after, like, season 3.